Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello to you and welcome back to the channel where today you join me to continue my series of videos with Pendle Lease. This is where we pick out cars that are more real world, more attainable. And as you can see behind me, today it's about the new third generation Volkswagen Touareg. Believe me when I tell you, this is quite a surprise package. It's their large family SUV, but in terms of technology, it's quite a leap forward. Let's take a look at the car inside out, then jump in for a test drive to see what it's about. For a model like the new Touareg, the leasing market is hugely significant, and you'll find a link down below with more information from Pendle Lease, as well as further details on pricing. What we're looking at here though is the fully loaded top spec version of Volkswagen's third gen large SUV. This is the R-Line Tech 3-litre V6 turbo diesel. There are 3 different trim levels available, starting with SEL, then you have R-Line, and at the very top end, the R-Line Tech. At the moment, it's the only engine configuration on offer in the UK, but it will soon be joined by a lower spec diesel, a petrol engine variant, and potentially in future a hybrid too. Now the technology level is where this car excels. It is very, very high. From default, you have the night vision cameras, you have the adaptive radar cruise control, you have all sorts of pedestrian and avoidance safety systems. On the inside, you have massaging seats, you name it, it's all there. But there are 2 things that I'd like to bring straight away to your attention. And the first is Volkswagen's new IQ.Light LED headlights. It's a very trick system that works incredibly well to blank out lights coming towards you without blinding oncoming traffic, but giving you great visibility while you're driving. And then on the inside, if we just come to have a quick look here, the new Innovision Cockpit for the dashboard and central infotainment. You have a 12-inch digital display here for the driver's vision, you have a 15-inch display in the center, and we'll run through those in a lot more detail very shortly. So this particular car, from that 3-litre diesel, has 286 horsepower, 600 Newton meters of torque. It will do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 6.2 seconds and onto a top speed of 146 miles per hour. As we explore around the car, let's talk about Volkswagen's new design language, starting from the more prominent and aggressive grille worn at the front to the sharper design lines that are seen throughout the bodywork. The proportions are sportier than the previous generation, even though it's quite significantly larger. The car is now 7.7 centimeters longer and 4.4 centimeters wider than the second gen Touareg, but it sits 2 centimeters lower, giving it that sportier appearance. If it's then equipped, like this car, with the optional air suspension system, it can sit a further 2.5 centimeters lower still, and you'll see even on this unnatural terrain, it levels itself out with the suspension system too. To come into the front and talk about the design then, this grille, it's tall, it's wide, it's proud, and it has a lot of presence. The headlights are integrated into the design at the sides with these full-width horizontal slats running all the way across. Within the grille, you have the R-Line badge that designates the model. It also varies the different bumpers that you have front and rear depending on the trim level, and you'll also notice a number of different sensors and cameras for the different technology features that it has too. If we come round the side, this model has the optional 21-inch dual-tone painted wheels, but those sharp lines like the shoulder line running the full width, the sloping roof line back towards the spoiler on the boot lid, and we come around towards the back where at the bottom again, the sharpened up diffuser with the chrome finish for the exhaust pipes that we have down there too, and the Touareg lettering on the boot lid, as well as the tinted rear glass. So on the outside, it doesn't necessarily scream or shout, it's quite subtle and discreet, but it looks modern, it looks like a later update to the car. So let's come into the interior then and have a quick run through of this Innovision cockpit and some of the features and functionality that we have in here before we go through it in more detail later on. In my pocket here, I have the key for the car that you can see, so you know what we're looking at, the Volkswagen Touareg. I'll put that away in a cup holder for the moment and give you a quick insight to this system. Starting up the engine and that diesel noise, I'm not the biggest fan of that, I'm not gonna lie, but we're on and ready. We've got an 8-speed automatic gearbox, but these screens and displays are what it's all about. So if I just close the door for the moment so that we can remove that notification. My seat moves forward, comfort assistance systems, but this is what it's all about. If you scroll through this, 2-finger slide to move the system between your different displays. You can jump in and out of all sorts of different screens depending what you want to see, oil levels, checks. You've got your cooling seats, heated seats, your climate control down at the bottom. Obviously you've got your sound system and audio control through here, also control through the driver display. If you press the view mode, you can bring up a full screen navigation system. You can go up and down to zoom in and out. You can bring up so many different things in here. For example, you can cycle through your audio, your telephone, your status, your night vision cameras. We can load that up now just so you can see quickly what that looks like. That's obviously not working so effectively given it's bright daylight right now, but you can get a gist of what it's capable of. Further back here, you've got your different driving mode selections to go through the different toggles. So as you can see, that brings up the configuration settings. You can customize your individual setting and set it up exactly how you'd like to have the car. It remembers profiles, so it can be set up to a specific user and how that person wants it to be. Your off-roading modes or background to normal. On the left side, you've got the air suspension control, so you can raise and lower the suspension system or sync it directly to the driving mode in which you've got selected. So needless to say, there's a fair amount going on here, but let's go out for a short drive and see what it's like. Now, one thing I probably don't need for driving is the night vision camera, so we can exit out of that and bring up some vehicle information, or the navigation actually is probably the most useful thing, just to have the map loaded in front of me. So the car's letting me know that we've got a user profile loaded. It can detect that you're near the screen, and it does various different things to do with waving and moving it around. But sitting in here, there is a great view around. We've got a full panoramic roof. The visibility and sight lines back towards the blind spots are wonderful. But let's get moving. Normal automatic gearbox, normal mode, standard driving, just away over, well, this pretty rough ground in this car park just before we get out on the roads. I'll try running it through some different modes. Given that it's quite warm today, I've got my seat cooling on the full mode, and it's gently cooling through the seat. I quite like that, especially just to keep yourself relaxed while you're driving. Let's go out over these big bumps. This is where you need an off-roader. You wouldn't be getting a low sports car into here. And turn out onto the main road, and away we go. So, doors automatically locking. Smooth drive. It's fairly quiet in the cabin. This isn't going to be the most dynamic test in the world. I mean, this is a pretty rough piece of tarmac right now, so it's a good test for the car as we bump over the undulations and curves. But driving like this normally, I guess the car does kind of what you would expect it to do, fairly quietly, fairly subtly, fairly gently, brisk enough, plenty of torque. 600 Newton meters of torque is more than enough for, you know, normal driving environment, so no qualms or sort of feeling that that isn't enough. If we go through into sport mode, obviously normally that's how I'd like it, and it'll put the gearbox into sport while we do that, so the gearbox can independently be put into sport or normal mode should you wish. I have tended to find once or twice it jumps down a bit prematurely. It drops down some gears when you didn't quite necessarily want it to, but even in here you can feel it's firmed up, but not crazily dramatically so, not uncomfortably so. I'd probably find myself driving it in sport mode most of the time, or setting it up into individual how I would like it. Steering, we've got four-wheel active steering, which makes, you know, turning in tight areas very, very easy. Parking, maneuvering, the camera system for parking, but just actually putting my foot down here, we've accelerated up to 60 miles per hour pretty decently, briskly and smoothly. So we're loaded with creature comforts. Like I said, I've got a button on the side of my seat to turn on my massaging seat functionality. Air conditioning is quiet and doing what it should do without feeling, you know, interfering. Sometimes it takes a while to get started, but it's got started nicely as soon as I've jumped in the car. The headlights, I can't really experiment and show you those because obviously it's quite sunny today, but the way the system effectively works is it's monitoring what's up ahead of you. If it sees a light or a bright object, it will darken that area while keeping everything around it bright. And we've seen systems like this appearing on different cars, but this is a step ahead of anything I've driven in prior to this date. New technology in this respect is coming, and we've seen plenty of examples, but it works very, very nicely, it has to be said. Gives you a really good view on the road. So in the countryside, for example, you want to be able to see past that car that's in front of you. So if you're following somebody, it will make them, or the small patch around them, dark, but everything either side of them is bright, which means you can see, and, you know, safer for an overtaking situation, for example. But just driving like this, let me put my foot down. Very diesely, very, very diesely, but then lots of performance. What is this car for? Well, it's not for driving dynamically, is it? It's not a car to go to a racetrack. Yeah, I'm sure it can do a wonderful job there, but it's a car to use for every purpose, to put it in snow mode on a ski holiday, to have your whole family with all their stuff in the back, so we'll check out the practicality elements shortly. It's a car that ticks those kind of boxes, but where it's sort of surprised me, like I said, is this technology level, the big displays being neatly integrated into the dashboard, offering all the functionality that they do offer as a result. And I've only lightly scratched on the surface. I'll click through some more buttons and show you some more pages when we pull back in. So to drive, not the biggest fan of the steering wheel. It feels a bit weak and small, and the materials not necessarily my favourite. And you have to remember that base price, the new Touareg, starts from £56,000. This car, as tested now, is a £72,000 car. It's not a cheap car, but then if you compare it to the likes of the Bentegas and the Q7s and the Cayennes, I suppose it is a fair chunk cheaper than those. Driving normal VW kind of stalks, maybe could be a little bit more premium, but in general terms, the feel of the interior is at quite a premium level, which is where the car's going for, the flagship from the range. The seats are good, they're comfortable, so the steering feel with the active steering's great. The steering wheel itself feels a little bit, could be a touch nicer, and some of the buttons on it could be a touch better as well. But generally speaking, when you consider what you get, like here for example, I need to pull out of this junction and I've got quite a big, normally a horrible blind spot going on there, but I can see it. We've got stop start doing its thing. It doesn't start up the engine like many cars these days as soon as you lift off the brake. That would be a touch nicer, but it's efficiency, right? This car can do nearly 43 miles per gallon, which is quite ridiculous for something that weighs 2,070 kilos. So who could possibly complain about that? I'd like to say thank you to Pendle Lease for supporting this video and the video series. If you'd like to know more about leasing and how it works, please click the link down below to check out their website, or alternatively have a search on Google for Pendle Lease. You'll find all of the information, details and pricing for the Touareg and other models right there, but leasing is a way of knowing upfront what the costs are going to be throughout your usage of a vehicle. What I haven't done is taken this car to the motorway or a dual carriageway to show you what it's like in that environment. But it has all of the features like alerting you if you stray over the lines, blind spot monitoring if you put your indicator on and there's a car lurking behind you. It has the adaptive cruise control to go at the speed of the vehicles in front of you. It has a traffic jam assistance mode at low speed where it will pull you along with traffic rather than you having to interact so much. These features that both make your driving experience easier and smoother, but also aid with the safety systems, collision avoidance. It has the ability to detect if a car is coming across you at a junction and therefore brake the vehicle automatically. If you have an incident, it will automatically brake the vehicle after that. All of these things that basically make us all a little bit safer in the vehicle while not yet being the fully autonomous level, so to speak. So everything, cruise control, you name it, it has all of that in here. There's even a hotkey on the steering wheel which brings up your different assist options to directly turn them on and off, depending how you want to have all of those things configured. So that's nice and easy to find. Outside of that, adaptive suspension changes its ride modes. Everything else kind of does what you expect it to, really. I think there's more to show you with the infotainment side of things and the rear areas, but from a driving perspective, very much, I would say, ticks the boxes that you would want it to be ticking. I tell you one thing I really do like though, is the turning circle. It can turn around on a sixpence when you consider that this car is just under 5 meters long. It's about 4 meters 90 long, yet it can just spin around in the smallest of spaces. Honestly, even just this little area that I have in front of me here, if I just go for a quick spin around in it, I think quite literally I'm going to be able to get around just in there. That is remarkably impressive, honestly. We've also got a head-up display, I didn't mention that yet. Yeah, what more can I say? Where do we begin then with the clever Volkswagen Innovision cockpit, the dual digital displays? Well, I think we should start with the central screen, the crisp and clear 15-inch display, and I'll run you through some of the highlight features and details and how you interact with this. So on the main screen, you can see the tiles showing a number of different pieces of information. Up top, you can slide down the menu with some hotkeys to get to various apps or pages. Swipe that back up, or you can just give it a tap actually if you just want to make it a little bit easier. Within these tiles, you can swipe them individually to bring up different bits of information, have it set up exactly how you'd like, with the clock showing the numbers, tyre pressures, or messages if you'd like. To the left side, we've got phone and Bluetooth information, and then with 2 fingers, you can swipe that over to get to your navigation and still have some of the tiles present. If you then click to go into here, we get the full screen navigation, very bright and very responsive. So a single finger, you can move it around and have a look. If you use 2 fingers, you can pinch it to zoom in or out. You can see we're just outside of London. When I turned on the system, I noticed there was a slight lag in it, but now that it's up and running, it's very responsive and very quick in the way it behaves and what information it shows you. You can always press at the bottom to jump straight back to home to bring the tiles back up. And as you can see, you kind of learn and get used to interacting with this and moving it around. Down at the bottom, you've got your air conditioning and climate controls, your seat cooling and heating for the passenger and for the driver. You can jump straight into the menus if you'd like and direct and change the settings all through the touchscreen interface. More buttons have loaded up here, sync the climate from left to right, settings, you name it, fan speed on the right. You've got some hotkeys at the right hand side of the entire display if you want to jump directly into those different ones, auto start, stop, off, and you can configure these slightly. Close air conditioning if we want, go back to the top, oil level, car systems. You can see here, I'm learning a bit as we go what it has available to us. CarNet, the car's Wi-Fi, and system to connect to the outside world. That will just take a moment, but you can see there it will load up bits of information that we can see that might be involved. Then we've got hotkeys back towards media, radio, all these systems, and then the volume side of things is controlled using this silver toggle down here in the center. Sits beneath the hazard warning, the electronic handbrake, and the auto handbrake hold button beneath the start stop. So this is a very inclusive system. As you can see, there's a lot that it can do in here. If we do go back to the home screen again, like how it has the little displays of the car graphic wherever you look around. So moving over from there, it's a slightly curved display, not significantly so, but there is a small curve to it, and the curve continues through the driver dashboard where you have the second 12-inch display, currently showing the rev counter on the left and the speedometer on the right. But this, as I briefly experimented with earlier, can change its modes using these toggles on the right hand side. So if you press view, for example, you can go full screen. We now get digital readouts for the gear and for the speedo on the right, and then you can zoom it in and out. You can go back to this display and cycle through different screens and different page modes. Basically, you can, well, as you can see, bring up a lot of different things here. So you can go fairly full screen on the night vision. If you like your toys and your gadgets, this is, well, to be honest, quite fun what you can do, what you can see. You can see the angle we're currently parked at, the elevation. I could spend a lot of time going through these screens, seeing the different information that we've got in there. The assist systems, the cruise control, I mentioned as well while driving, that you can see here, just lots and lots of different safety systems available to us in the car. So that all works, fair to say, very, very well. No complaints about all of this. It's really a technology tour de force, a significant step on that I don't think I really expected in the Volkswagen Touareg, to be completely honest. So we have memory seats for the driver's side, but not for the passenger. The passenger seat does not get the memory seat functionality. I find this gear selector a little bit large and clunky. It doesn't quite make sense why it needs to have all of that just to go between park, reverse, neutral, and then for drive. That would be drive, and put it again that way for sport mode if you want sport on the gear selector, and then press the P on the side for parking. I find that a bit clunky, even though it does feel good, feels solid and secure. In front of that we have this storage cubby hole which has the 12-volt socket and USB port, but then this cover is a little bit fiddly, it has to be said. I found that quite awkward to open and close. If we continue back down the central console, inside the armrest, a small cubby hole with another USB port, but not the most space in the world. Often you'd have a deeper storage bucket there going on. In the doors, good compartments for putting drinks bottles or the like in those. We've got a small glove box, not a huge glove box given the size of the car, up there. So let me just shut it off for the moment and open the door, jump out and show you in the rear. So my seat is moving backwards just to make exiting the vehicle a touch easier. Fun display you see as it spins around there. So we'll close that up, come have a look in the back. You've got the chrome trim that runs the surround of the windows with the shape, again, sporty back there. In here, much the same, nice trim in general, so to speak, about this car. Stepping back, obviously with the driver's seat in a reversed position at the moment. It moved itself backwards from where it was, but even still, loads of room back here. In the center, you have the 4-zone climate control back here, so even the rear seats can independently set their climate settings. You've got some nice illumination and colored lighting going on as well, ambient lighting inside the car. And from back here, you can really experience that electrically operated panoramic roof with an electric shutter that comes over, but very, very open, lots of glass, a nice feel around the car. These seats are 40, 20, 40 folding. This car is about practicality, of course, so those work in the optimum way possible. And if we come round towards the back, we have a power fold electric tailgate, one press there, and that will open up, where again, lots of storage space back here with some nice features too, including down here, the ability to lower the rear. So this is the adaptive air suspension doing its thing. Hard to see, but it's actually dropping itself down at the back now, down towards the ground as I hold the button, which just makes lifting things in a little bit easier as the rear shelf is lowered down to the ground. You can see the suspension, how it's sitting down on the back axle now, just to make that process a touch easier, and then you can put it back up with a press back there, and it is currently raising itself. So the rear seats you can fold using these magic releases. Those will knock down that side, that will knock down that side, nice and easy. Throw in your stuff, perfect for chucking the kids' luggage in the back. And the other button that we have here is for the invisible towing bar. So if I press the button, you will see how that's going to fold out of the back any second now into place. Magic. No idea that that was there, otherwise very nicely integrated, clean system. Just tucks away back underneath with a towing capacity of 3.5 tons. Pull your trailers with your other car in if that's what you need. Certainly something that would help in my life. See if we can tuck that back away. There we go. Off it goes. Done. So that all works, well, very easily. There's even a 12-volt socket back there. Nothing to complain about. The cover over the back, the parcel shelf cover, has pulled itself back up as well, but obviously that then comes back down. So we can close this back up. That all works very, very neatly. Practicality mixed with technology in a nice package overall, it has to be said. Perhaps it doesn't scream with excitement at the end of the day, to be honest about that, but it has been quite a surprise for me. I wasn't expecting that level of technology and functionality available in the Volkswagen Touareg. So I hope you enjoyed this video. A big thanks again to Pendle Lease. Like I said, link is down below. Thank you as always to you guys for watching. Thank you to Volkswagen for the access to the vehicle, to have a go and to take it for a drive to experience what it's about. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much as always, guys, and I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.